Hi everyone. So, as promised, we are back with a new episode of the Budget Special Series that is being conducted here at Bharat Bhagya Vidhata. And today's episode is all about how the budget is made. So, let us see how the budget making process takes place. Now, as most of you may know, the Finance Ministry is responsible for the creation of the budget. In the Finance Ministry, there are five departments, which are the Department of Expenditure, the Department of Economic Affairs, Department of Revenue, Department of Financial Services, and the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. In the Department of Economic Affairs is the Budget Division. The Budget Division of the Department of Economic Affairs is the nodal body which is responsible for producing the budget. Now, how is this budget made? First and foremost, a circular is issued to the union ministries, to the states, union territories, autonomous bodies, and the defense forces, which takes place in the months of August and September. At the same time, a discussion is held between the Union Ministry and the ministries and the Department of Expenditure and of the Finance Ministry after these ministries send in their demands for the allocation of funds. At the same time, there is a meeting between the stakeholders and the Departments of Revenue and Economic Affairs. These stakeholders include farmers, businessmen, economists, and the departments take the views of the stakeholders. After this, a final call on the tax proposals is taken by the finance minister and which is then discussed with the prime minister before the budget is frozen. Now, what are the types of budgets? The types of budgets broadly comprise of three types, which are the balanced budget, the surplus budget, and the deficit budget. Now, what is a balanced budget? In a balanced budget, the estimated government expenditure will be equal to the expected government receipts. This type of budget is based on the principle of living within means and is advocated by many economists. Surplus budget. The government earnings from the taxes levied are greater than the amount which the government spends on public welfare. That is, if the expected government revenue exceeds estimated government expenditure, then we'll have a surplus budget. Such a budget can be implemented at the times of inflation to reduce aggregate demand. Now we have the deficit budget. If the estimated government expenditure exceeds expected government revenue, then we'll have a deficit budget. This budget is best suited for developing economies such as India. It is helpful at times of recession because it helps in generating additional demand and it helps in boosting the rate of economic growth. So, what are the components of the budget? The components of budget can be broadly categorized into capital budget and revenue budget. Capital budget is further classified into capital receipts and capital expenditure, and the same goes for revenue budget, which is classified into revenue receipt and revenue expenditure. Now, what is capital receipts? In the capital receipts indicates that uh, indicate the receipts which led to a decrease in the assets of the government. For example, the money which is received in the form of borrowings or repayment of loans by the states. Then comes the capital expenditure. The capital expenditure is used to create assets. For example, the money which is given by the government in the form of loans to the states can be classified under capital expenditure. Then we have the revenue receipts. The revenue receipts are the receipts which don't have a direct impact on the assets and liabilities of the government and include money earned by the government through tax and non-tax sources. Revenue expenditure under the revenue budget is the expenditure by the government which does not impact its assets or liabilities. This includes salaries, pensions, and administrative expenses. Now it is interesting to note that planned and unplanned budgeting was discarded by the NDA government. The reason was the C. Rangarajan Committee report of 2011, and we saw this abolition when the railway budget was also included with the union budget. The new classification will assist the government to create proper link between the government spendings, earnings, and the outcomes. Now that we have seen what type of budgets we have and the components of the budget, let us look at the steps. The steps involve composing the budget. Now, after analyzing every aspect carefully, the Finance Ministry allocates revenues to various administrative ministries and devises new public welfare schemes. It also distributes money for various public welfare schemes, and at times when there are disputes between different ministries over allocation of resources, the finance ministry consults the union cabinet or the prime minister. Whatever decision is taken by the union cabinet or the prime minister is considered final. After completing the allocation of resources to future expenditures, the Finance Ministry, in association with the Central Board of Direct Taxes and the Central Board of Excise and Customs, prepares a report of the estimated revenues to be generated in the ensuing financial year. Next up, we have printing and presenting the budget. Now, after the budget composition is completed and during the printing process, the officials and the staff are confined to the ministry premises. They are confined to the ministry premises because they know what will be presented in the budget beforehand, and so as to prevent any leaks to the general public, the staff and the officials are confined to the ministry. The union budget is then presented in the parliament by the finance minister. Since since past few years, this date has been decided as February the 1st, on which date the budget has been presented by the finance minister. Now it is interesting to see the budget allocation of the years 2019 and 2019 to 20 and 2020 to 21. In this budget allocation, we see that the highest increase in budget allocation was for the Home Ministry and for the Defense Ministry. On the other hand, the ministries such as Consumer Affairs, Food, and Public Distribution saw a decrease in the budget allocation by 36%. At the same time, we also see ministries such as Rural Development and Agriculture to have the lowest growth in the budget allocation. It will be interesting to see what budget allocations are made for these respective ministries in the budget of 2021 to 22, considering all the conflicts which the government has been facing with the farmers and the focus which the government emphasizes on rural development. Now, this was the budget making process and the composition. At the same time, we need to see what are the budgeting reforms that can be introduced by the government to have a transparent and robust budget. So for this, we see that the government should have that there should be a substantive role of the Rajya Sabha in the budget making process. At the same time, there should be an increase in the support staff for the parliament so that the demand for budget grant could be scrutinized better. This would lead to a better scrutiny of the allocation of funds to various ministries and would also ensure that better work is being done towards the development schemes and the welfare schemes that are being implemented by the government. Now, there are other areas of scrutiny as well, and these are very important and also need a better analysis. For example, we have the performance budgeting, the gender budgeting, and the green budgeting. The performance budgeting is broadly the allocation of funds based on the performance of ministry, which should be considered and made a crucial aspect when the allocation of funds is being done in the government budget. Now, what is gender budgeting? Gender budgeting is basically the allocation of funds which is being done by the government towards different welfare schemes such as empowerment schemes and programs for females and other minority communities. Now, gender budgeting is important because it will help to promote gender equality by the government and will also show that the government is considerate towards towards different sections of the society irrespective of the gender. Last but not the least is green budgeting. Green budgeting is the budgeting which is done keeping in view the environment so that the work which is being done by the government for the environment can have a better allocation of funds. The government can take better steps, resources can be utilized, and overall the ecosystem can benefit. With this, we come to an end to how the budget is made. Stay tuned for more on the budget series by Bharat Bhagyavidata. Thank you.